Hello, my name is Ruth Grigg from Dyslexia Services, and today we are looking at grammar and we are looking at connectives and conjunctions. What are connectives? Connectives are called cohesive devices. That means that they join and link together words and phrases. They join them together, in sentences or paragraphs. So let's have a look at some examples. Sebastian has always wanted a pet. Okay, so full stop, separate sentence. So, comma, his mum bought him a goldfish for his birthday. This belongs to this sentence here. It's linked together. The two ideas are linked together. So we have a cohesive device called a connective. You may also need to be putting a comma there if you're using that at the beginning of a sentence. Let's look at another one. The weather was sunny yesterday, full stop. However, comma, it rained all day today. This sentence here, the second sentence, wouldn't make a lot of sense without the first sentence. That's why you have a connective. That connective there, however, this connective here, so, joins these two sentences together so that they make sense when you read them together. So let's have a look at this one. The train was late, full stop. As a result, now that's a phrase, not just a word, but it's still a connective. As a result, we missed the show. Note again, after every one of those, you put a comma. Let's look at some other sentences and wonder whether we can make up some sentences and you can make up some. Let's try, shall we? Let's read them first. I've got then, next, whatever, first, at last, despite, when, meanwhile, so, while, nevertheless, whenever, however, later, after, even though, suddenly, and finally. So let's try, shall we? We'll do a few, we won't do them all. Let's start with then. It was thundering and lightning all day, so we couldn't go out to watch the game. Full stop. Then the sun came out and we were able to go. See, the word then connects the second sentence to the first one. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try next. Okay. The first game, we didn't do very well. Should I say, in the first game, we didn't do very well. Full stop. But in the next game, however, so I've got next and however, that might not be here. We've got whatever, but here we are. The next game, however, was brilliant. And we won the game 3-0. So next and however are connecting it to the first sentence. Okay, one more, shall we try? But I'd like you to make up sentences. Please write them down. Make them up. Don't forget to put your first sentence, full stop, use a connective, any one of those. Practice with these. You can use so as well. Put your comma and then the rest of your sentence so the whole thing makes sense. Right, let's see. What word did I say we were going to do? Meanwhile. Okay. Okay, let me think. All the buses were late and we were stuck at the bus station. Full stop. Meanwhile, my friend phoned for a taxi and it was here in 10 minutes, so we got home safely. So I've got meanwhile, and so. So you can put more than one in a sentence. You don't have to. But they connect the second part of what you are saying, second part of your phrase or your paragraph to the first part. Let's do one more, shall we? I did however, didn't I? Let's do even though. Okay. Okay. The show was about to begin, even though the star was sick. Okay, so that's in the sentence. So perhaps we should try that a different way. The star of the show was sick. Even though the star of the show was sick, they continued to do the act and the play, or they continued to do the play. That's a better example, I think. Okay, let's look at how connectives can be used to show time, to give examples, to explain ideas, and to show the effects of an action, to compare and more. So connectives do quite a lot of work, don't they, really? So they show the time, a bit like adverbs. Firstly, so you could say, firstly, I put on my best clothes. However, later on, we got soaking wet in the rain, and then we had to come home. The next thing I know, the rain had stopped. After that, we managed to get to the show on time. Since we were late, we didn't get a very good seat. Meanwhile, we phoned home to let everyone know we were there safely. Eventually, we saw the show and it was brilliant. And at that time, we didn't think we were going to see it. We were so glad we made it. And in the moment, we shouted for joy. In the moment when everyone was clapping, we were shouting and clapping and standing up because we were so happy we got there. Suddenly, we ran out of energy, so we had to stop. And finally, the show finished and we had to go home. Now, there's loads in there. You wouldn't use all of those. You'd use one or two, but obviously not all of them. So they show the time. Giving examples, so you could say, for example, or for instance, they both mean the same thing. You could say such as, or in the case of. Okay, let's give an example. Okay, the teacher was demonstrating how to do some complicated maths on the board. So she gave us an example. When I'm saying an example, I mean she showed us a video and she showed us a sample on the board. And then she said, for example, this is how you do it. Giving example, I could say, that was a bit complicated. Shall we try something a bit simpler than that? My dog was feeling very sick. He had been running and panting and jumping all day. That is more of an explanation. Let's do a for instance. Okay. Let me think now. For instance, the cake was very soggy. For instance, I didn't put enough. Or for example, I didn't put enough flour in, and I didn't turn the heat up enough in the oven. Okay, you can use these as well, unless except, yet, although, if, as long as. You can go out tonight as long as you do your homework. Although you haven't finished all your homework, I can see you've tried very hard, so you may go out tonight. So those are how you use these. Showing the effects of an action. So therefore, consequently, as a result, because of this. So let's try consequently. Okay. I went out in the evening to a show and I forgot my raincoat. Consequently, I got soaking wet. That means as a consequence of not taking it, I got wet. Therefore, I had to go home and change. So it shows the effects of an action. And then you've got comparing. However, alternatively, otherwise, likewise, on the other hand, in the same way, but, whereas, and equally. And I think the one most people tend to use is this one, but. But if we could use some of these other words instead of but all the time, it would make our writing more interesting. So I tend to say, however, quite a lot. I could say, alternatively, for instance, tonight we are having chicken and chips. Alternatively, you can have fish and chips. So it means that you have a choice. Okay. Let's think. Let's do another one. Equally. Okay. My two friends are equally as important to me as each other. Equally. It means they mean the same. They have the same value. So what I'd like you to do, again, is to write some sentences and do at least one of each, under each category, showing the time, giving examples, explaining ideas, showing the effects of an action, and comparing. Write some sentences showing these different connectives and how they can be used. And then there are conjunctions. They're the same thing. They link ideas and words together, but in the same sentence, not in two separate sentences. So let's have a look. The dog barked loudly when she heard a knock at the door. This is telling you when it happened, okay? The dog barked loudly when she heard a knock at the door. So it's in the same sentence, not in two separate sentences, okay? Would you like water or milk? Giving someone a choice there. I am nervous because I have a test tomorrow. After eating his dinner, Grandad fell asleep on the sofa. So let's have a look. I could also say the dog barked loudly when my visitors came to the door, or as my visitors came to the door. I could say, would you like tea or coffee? And because I'm nervous because tomorrow I have to visit the dentist. Yikes. After eating my dinner, I got very sleepy and I fell asleep whilst I was watching the movie. You can use these words in so many different ways, but please have a try. So again, we have activities and games for you to do. Please practice them so that you get very familiar with conjunctions and you get familiar with connectives. And please do some writing because it will really help you to understand. Okay, great. I'll see you next time.